Hello, welcome, welcome everyone. I'm your host, Extraforce, and I'm joined with partner in crime, Aster31.
Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good night.
Yep.
Um,
So yeah, as we let kind of stragglers come in, kind of just go through. Stuff happened. Stuff happened on Monday. Today is what, Tuesday, right? I don't.
Today is Tuesday, all day.
Today is Tuesday
Um,
all day.
but also at this point, I just heard stuff happen. I don't believe stuff happened. Do you have any like statistical evidence to show that stuff happened?
So I haven't been. It's been hard. It's been difficult to kind of keep up with tournaments. Like past couple of weeks, especially like since they announced that the server update was coming. But like I've been running stuff and I've been like getting the odd, uh, fifth and eighth place, the odd third and fourth place. I think I've won a few Iron historicals that I'm still running. To grab PTCS data, but yeah. So I did run. I've been running Perfect Draft Quicks as a means to generate data to try to capture what happened on Monday. Yeah. So
That's it's fascinating that that's now the way to get data the most
there's no
easily.
32 quicks, but there are Perfect Draft Quicks, and
Perfect Draft Dice, they're 64 though, right?
yep, and they're 64, so they count for a
And it's
little
a
bit
lot
more.
of games, and they're past the sevens, so it's a lot of games. It's a lot of data in one tournament, um, and you can play. How many of them can you play in a day?
So across four teams, I've gotten 15 worth, and there's one or two where the pitching splits bug that happened Monday morning. I think at least one, the full tournament finished before the pitching splits bug was fixed. So I'm still counting that because at least with the stuff I've been kind of looking at, I'm more focused on the offensive component right now. So yeah, it's been probably 36 hours because I would have entered my first quick Monday morning at whatever 7:30. So yeah, and I have probably two or three that I can pull in right now if I really wanted to. So you're looking at about maybe 18 or so, and
Okay.
so what is that? Yeah, so about like they don't actually fire that quickly, which is the surprising part. Which surprised me. I was like, oh, I can like, get 100 in a day or something like that. And no, it's about every 2 hours one
Well, I mean, I
fires.
think they have good rewards, but the fact that it's not part of the PTCS,
Yeah,
you know, team, I think, you know, limits who's willing to do them, and you do have to commit a good amount of time. That if you're going to have to do an actual draft, multiple, and you also have to kind of do the draft right away because you don't know when it's going to fire. So
right.
it's a little bit more of a commitment, but um, I do like that they're actually like they exist this year. Because last year they were just so the rewards were so bad compared to the dailies and the weeklies that it made no sense to play. So that was a nice upgrade. And then um, I also like that they serve a nice purpose of just being able to do some quick data collection.
Yeah, and I wasn't like I had an idea going in, like what pitchers to target and stuff.
Sure.
And really, it's still the offensive guys that I'm kind of even after looking at like the 15 perfect drafts and looking at the data, it's still it's even harder to kind of eyeball, at least to me, like the good players. I think it's a more balanced offensive approach, but I think pitching it's much more clear cut. I would say, like
No, I think that
tier wise.
yeah, it's. I've often found that it's usually one or the other. That if pitching's really clear, then hitting's a little murky, and vice versa. And that's sometimes when there's like whenever there's been any sort of change, I'm always kind of feel like I get one side of it comfortable first. Like this year, I felt like I had a pretty good feel for the hitters right away when we had the you know this version of the game came out. But pitchers, I had no idea what was going to work. Uh, Part of it was because we didn't understand, exactly pitcher backup was a new thing, and a lot of people at first said it didn't matter, and then a lot of people were like, no, it does matter, but not a lot. And then, took some time for it to be clear that it matters a lot. And I don't know. Some people have now been saying that they think it matters more with the changes. Um, some people think it matters less. I think we're going to need to see a lot more than 15 tournaments worth of data to have a good sense of that. But this tonight is really just to kind of see if we can maybe have some more educated guess as to what's going to work, and then to a certain extent, you have to be playing something if you're playing these tournaments, and you might as well play whatever makes the most sense given the limited information you have. You can just do a blind guess, obviously, and for the first couple of tournaments that I played, like yesterday and today, I made like a couple of small adjustments of guys that I was just like, well, this guy's just not going to play at all anymore, and we can talk about the kind of profile with those kind of players that just stood out as like are not going to be able to compete in this new environment. But I think on the margins, we're going to see over time as we collect more data that there are certain players that had big impacts with change that maybe wouldn't have been readily apparent, and that's definitely going to take some more data before we really.
Yeah, and I would say it's going to be a lot more challenging because what something this slide doesn't say is what's happening to walks, and from the observed, it looks like walks are down as well. So
But I didn't think it was from what we looked at yesterday. I didn't look like walks were down a lot though.
no, no, they're not down a lot. Like in and we'll see in a sec, but they are down.
Right.
It's but like so this goes back to some of the other comments. I think I don't know if it was on Kidney Stream or not, but triple rate is using the baked in values. If you didn't know, I think Kidneys have mentioned it on his stream, but if you collect data and you're trying to regress basically speed to triple rate, you'll see a number of outliers, and it's because they have a baked in triple rate that doesn't correlate to speed. So
That we don't see.
that we don't see.
Right.
You can like import the card in base game and get an idea, but even then it's like not 1 to 1 from the observed. So I think in terms of like with the increase in BABIP, I feel like figuring out who those guys are is probably one of the advantages you can get.
Well, because also the big thing to remember that I think may not be readily apparent to some people is you know strikeouts are down, walks are down, home runs are down with the changes that they made. Now, the varying degrees, walks are only down a little bit, as we'll show. Strikeouts and homers are down a little bit more, but that means that there's more bit balls in play. The three true outcomes are happening less, so there's going to be more balls in play, and the batting average on balls in play is way up, that was the main thing that they were trying to address. But they also kind of double down on it by also increasing the number of balls in play, let alone the batting average on the balls in play. So if previously there were 100 balls in play and the batting average was 270, that's 270 hits. But if they then bumped the number of balls in play to 110, and then the batting average that on that is 300, then you're talking about 330 hits. So instead of bumping it up 30, really bumped it up 60 um, with those two changes. So those numbers are just kind of to demonstrate that there's kind of like a double effect to it. I don't know if it's that extreme, but definitely, the in terms of looking at what kind of players are going to play, the value of guys who are going to, be able to put balls in play and get hits on them just has so much more value now than it did previously. And so, um, you'll see some of those guys that didn't look playable under the old format, might have a lot more life now. And then, for the top players, I think sort of, changes a little bit where you get value from them, but a lot of the top players are just kind of sort of good across the board, and might not change much in value. But I think especially like some of the lower levels, it completely changes who you want to play.
Okay. So yeah. So just what we kind of talked about. BABIP values too low. BABIP values more around 300. Adjust K and home run rates. So this is if you've seen the stream, this is kind of how I format my sheet and stuff. The old values or the new values are down here. So you can see K rate is now 18.5, which equates to roughly a 7.4 K per nine. Walk rate is 8.58, which the walks per nine is just slightly down. Home run rate is more down. You're going from 1.27 to 1.12. Runs, the run environment kind of gets a bit of a boost. So this is taken from perfect drafts before, 32 team or 64 team perfect drafts before versus 64 team perfect drafts now, all in the modern era. And so you can kind of see the run environment kind of shifted about 63 points, and BABIP goes from 267 to 308. So look,
So,
they did their job.
well, I don't know that I would agree with that statement. They did what they set out to do. I think might be a better a statement of that, but I think they might have ended up doing a little bit more than they thought they were doing. Um, but yeah. So I mean, I will say this. I think that the change based on this limited data, I think that these changes mean that a wider variety of cards are going to be playable, especially among hitters. I think there's going to be a wider variety of types of hitters that that you can play. I don't think you can just rely on you know eye and power as your two stats, and that's all you need. I think you're going to need to factor in um, you know, BABIP, Gap Power, a lot more, and Wood K somewhat more, just because guys that are the guys that strike out more. It didn't matter when they weren't getting on base anyway from their balls in play. Now there's going to be so many more balls in play that it hurts you more. The strikeout hurts you more. So, there will still be value to playing guys that have iron power as their way of producing runs. But I think the ones that have iron power but have really bad BABIP and avoid K are just going to stop being playable. Um, and then with more balls in play and higher BABIP, I think having a strong defense is going to be really important, especially if you're going to try and use some pitchers that don't have high stuff. Um, I think that a low stuff pitcher with a poor defense is just going to get eaten alive in this run environment, and I think it'll be a lot harder to play them.
I like to call
Also,
that
if you're
dink and dunk.
dink and dunk, yeah.
Yeah.
So Also, just as a caveat, we're talking about these perfect drafts are modern era. So for right now, that's what we're talking about. I still think the historical eras will probably have the backup's probably going to be higher, but we're still going to see those same kind of drastic changes to to K rate, to walk rate, and home run rate that will change what kind of players you want to play. But I do think that the in the modern era, at least, um, I do think that the profile of what's going to work is going to be a little bit more diversified, and that just certain player types that we a lot of people have been playing just are going to cease to be.
So, taking kind of a look at certain, like if we were going to look at how the observed PBAB looks and how it kind of differed over time. So I can do some magic. We'll do some third degree polynomial. Probably doesn't even matter, but you can kind of see if I were to fix kind of this axis between, let's say, minimum of 0.2 to 0.36. And if I go, let's see, how does this work if I do this? SP regression. In my old workbook, which you all can't see, format access to minimum 0.2. And how many points do we have in this one? We have 120, 35 points. So let me count this out. This is 25. Let's drop this down a little bit more. That's not enough. Yeah, okay, this is kind of enough. And let's add this trend line in here. No one knows what I'm talking about.
But I'm just entertained watching.
Yeah. So if I do this and then I do this, actually, hold on. Before I do that, we'll call this old BABIP, old P BABIP. Don't mind me. And then if we come back in here, and this is old P BABIP, and this is kind of new P BABIP. So it's kind of hard to see like apples to apples, but in general, this was at like 0.24 as a floor, 0.23, and now like the floor in the new one is around 0.26. So these other points, these are just kind of boundary conditions that I've applied to the data set, just where I think the where those values are. Like I typically kind of adjust them after the fact, but you can kind of see that really like 50, I think. This could be like, this is speculation as to why we had to have this changed in the first place, but the idea is like 50 equated to around 300. 50 p BABIP equated to 300 BABIP. And in the base game, 50 is typically meant to be average, and BABIP of 300 it was meant to be average, so that's why we had that. And now, if you look at it in the new data, 300 is pretty much at 80. So if you're playing with an 80 p BABIP pitcher, he's gonna have an average
Oh wow, that's
p
interesting.
BABIP of 300. So my guess is they've shifted that. They've shifted the median, the average p BABIP rating from 50 to 80 as part of the change.
Okay, because there's not that many pitchers that I feel like were previously in the meta that had 80 80 PBAP or higher, and really, it like right now, there, like some of the guys that we were using in certain era formats and stuff like that were like, high 90s, 100, but like there's not much to go up from 80, but there's a lot of guys that are way down from 80, and I guess you just can't. Do you think that the assumption is you just can't play those guys anymore, or
Uh, we can take a look at some of the data. If we actually go and look at kind of not the predictions, but like a
results?
guy like Newhouser
Right,
still has an okay WOBA against or
right.
WRC plus, and that's because he's still striking out a ton of people and he's not giving up home runs. So
Right. So,
it's not clear. Like he's getting people out
right,
somehow,
but
right?
like, what do you here? I can pull up the card. Like, what's his? Do you remember what his pitcher backup is?
I can pull him up. His pitcher BABIP.
Yeah.
Let me pull. I can just pull him up and dump him in the workbook.
Oh, here he's 76 overall, so he'd be so that makes sense that he's just above average, or just below average if 80 is the average now, whereas someone like Joss is a 98 pitcher BABIP, so that would be why his BABIP is still a bit below 300.
Yeah, or Hunter Brown or whatnot. And so like looking at
Right.
someone like Hal Newhouser, yeah, he's gonna his the BABIP is just like way higher, right? And then
Right.
his K rate is elite, like 25. Uh, well, 25 just seems to be like
Pretty much the top of the not many, like 25 of that list of those that you have there.
yeah.
Not really very many people above that. Um, and then Senga at 25.88.
And again, these are like you probably want kind of 1,000 ish
Sure.
innings pitched before. So again, this is kind of and like this is using perfect drafts is I really like it because you get plurality in terms of the ratings that are being used, and so a lot of people who model based on a kind of like a solved format like gold or whatever, especially back in PT 23 and 22 where they had the best of seven quicks and whatnot, like you would get like five data points and like those guys would be at like thousands of innings pitched, but you'd very rarely see any differentiation. But here you can see there's like quite a variety in terms of pitchers, and they all have kind of a lowish amount of innings pitched, but they actually have you get like a good breadth of ratings, I feel.
But it's interesting just to see on here that there's what we were talking about before. Like I I'm even looking at this, like figuring out what shape of pitcher is likely to be best is, I think, I almost say you just want like I don't know that there's anyone that's going to be strong. It looks like you can get away with a guy like Roberts who has going to let up a mass amount of home runs because his walk rate and his BABIP are going to be so low, and he still is able to get at least a reasonable amount of strikeouts. Um, and so the fact that he's looks like obviously still a very small sample. The fact he'd be viable, but then also some of these low control guys like Vita Blue, without elite TBAPIP, that he gets by with having great home run suppression and great stuff. It's nice to see that there's a possibility at least that a lot of different shapes are going to work. Uh,
So
and
just
so I guess at that point you're just looking for who's the most overstatted, across the board, and not really worried about the particular shape.
yeah, so just kind of something I haven't done, but would be kind of good to go through. So like the Charlie Morton is like the average pitcher, I guess. So if we're gonna look up Morton, I don't think I have a Charlie Morton in terms of like bad-ish or like average. So uh, this is this is Charlie Morton's profile. So he doesn't he walks too many people and he has too high of a BABIP and he strikes out enough people to make him average, I guess.
Right.
But so this is one of the challenges with like my entire modeling system is that I'm basing this off of the observed ratios within um, the perfect draft and I'm using that to do the predictions.
Right.
So because we don't have splits and because we don't have splits, like it could be that everyone's picking left-handed bashers, and so his left-handed profile is even much worse. And if he was going to be facing more right-handed batters, like maybe he becomes a little bit better than average type of thing.
Right. Well, and also, it's important to think about the, if you're doing a perfect draft, you're looking at, I'm in a gold round. I do not want it unless, I'm really like struggling to make a pick. I really don't want Charlie Morton because, you know, at that stage of the game, I should be able to get a, above average pitcher. Um, and so, I think, obviously I'm going to say this a lot, but very small sample size. But, um, he really, for using up a gold starting pitcher slot, I want better production than that. And, I think the numbers that he put up there kind of fit the profile that he has. Seeing the 330, ish BABIP, is pretty bad.
Yeah, and so if we're just kind of looking at the perfects that have been selected, like Addy Joss being
Right.
up there, Yuri Perez being up there, like Chesbro and Waring, they're a little low. Let's see, is there how is the Joss's profile? I don't own a Joss, so I don't know. Okay, yeah. So like uh
Yeah. So the
this is
Joss is one of those, you know, the the K rate's a little on the low side, compared to a lot of the perfects, but everything else is pretty elite, and results in darn good numbers.
yeah, like he doesn't give up home runs, he doesn't give up hits, he doesn't give up walks, and if you field an adequate defense around him, he's gonna be good. And if you field
Right.
an elite defense behind him, he's gonna be ridiculous. If you give up the control or if you give up the PBABIP, I feel like and you keep the stuff at 70, I think you're gonna need way better defense to provide those same numbers.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah. Is
Yeah,
is this all
where I
making
think
sense, chat? Is this useful at all? Is anyone listening? Are we just in the background tab? Is everyone just collecting their post afternoon more control? All right, Dempsey. All right. Yes, listening. Okay.
okay,
Oh, Hip
good.
and Knee Doc, the legend. I'm here, but Zeldaling. So yeah. Um, cool.
Okay, yeah,
Okay, let's take a look at some of these. I kind of want to quickly kind of go through and just kind of band these guys together. in between like diamonds and in the observed data, like Fat good, Bradley good, Tiant good, Titcomb good. I guess
Yep.
this is all kind of expected.
Yeah, I mean those are definitely guys that if I saw in a perfect draft or
Ooh,
low diamond.
Webster McDonald. Let's see why he's bad. Is there any Webster McDonalds? So I think this is Lefty's Bash is gonna be my, because it like not only it why is this not, my Excel doesn't like that I pasted stuff there. No. What if I
Close
paste
enough.
stuff here? Okay. Um, just got here.
So
Start over.
massive splits.
So yeah, I think that uh, I guess out of this, you need to consider splits more, maybe, especially
Hmm.
where like you have such a weak side platoon on some of these. Why is Fat getting voted up as a starter in silver? Defense. I don't know. Give it time. He'll probably finish at like a 3.
Yeah, in
Uh,
silver I would expect that.
yeah.
I would expect it to be a pretty solid.
I think I ran Fat. I don't know if I did him in silver or not. No, I only ran him in gold. My Fat in gold had a 4.43 ERA, but that was a 90 ERA plus, so he was a little below average. But I don't know.
Good start from this year for you though.
Yeah. Um, defense. Yeah, and it's only Tuesday.
It's
Uh,
only Tuesday is almost always the right answer.
I wouldn't look at like stuff until like Friday afternoon, maybe. But yeah, so I think like this left-handed profile, VL profile, is just not going to play,
Yeah.
and presumably that's kind of why. So then if we kind of go down, make our way down to 80, 89, Vita Blue good. Most people seem to be running Antonelli above average. Lady Baldwin above average. Uh, when Twipt comes on, then he's got a 5 ERA. Dan Heron, Doug Fister. Even these guys are kind of like still. I bet if I go to like the Iron guys, I think the Iron guys are going to be the ones that look the worst. Um, yeah, you can start seeing silver. I think this is kind of interesting. Like with this change, there's less over like there's more of a premium on stats, I guess, and with the more premium on stats, the usually the overalls are better. Like I guess actually no, that doesn't make much sense. So like if we were gonna go
Yeah,
like who,
I was going to ask you to repeat that so
yeah,
that I could see if I could figure it out. But so you're
no,
basically saying that usually a 79 just has a higher number of like total points than like a 70, and
yeah,
so that since if the shape doesn't matter as much, you just want the guy with more total points.
we're doing
I,
modern PD quicks, Roscoe. But yeah, even this is like way too little. But I was kind of wondering like where is this WRC? Like where are the worst WRC people? Kind of like is it in bronze?
well, I mean, to a large extent, people most people if they're building teams are going to have more most of their innings come from gold and silver pitchers, and
Yeah.
then just it's the back end of the bullpen that's the iron and the bronze, and not nearly as much.
Oh,
um,
actually I'm looking at starters too. So like
oh,
I
okay.
bet if I were looking at relievers.
Yeah, because I think people generally don't start iron and bronze pitchers that all that often, maybe as a fifth starter.
But
But I
yeah, you
think
can kind of see like if we widen this out a little bit to like top 20, like the low ends for silver are kind of not as low as before, I guess. You kind of get stuck. I don't know. It's just an
but it's
idea.
interesting to see like Candelaria is a shape that I always liked from prior versions. He's like a he's like a 72 um like 72, 74, 75 or something like that.
Let's see
Um
if I can find him.
and
Oh, Candelaria. Yeah. So
so,
like that's
under the old rating systems, 76, 71, 75, but the movement is leaning a little bit more heavily towards the pitcher BABIP. He's a little bit splitty, but um, actually a good bit splitty, but um, it's
I think
interesting to
the
see that.
right-hander, like we're looking at almost 70% in
Okay,
this data.
right.
Uh, so
Yeah.
so yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
So we'll clear this, and then what am I looking at?
Yeah, the last thing I kind of am committing to in terms of um, you know, when looking at early data is individual players. I'm usually looking more at kind of the macro, how the run environment has changed, and then maybe like what shapes of pitchers stand out. So what's interesting to me is right now, I don't see a particular shape that like stands out as best. Um, Most of these guys at the top have pretty good pitcher backup, but the rest of the shape seems like you can try a lot of different ways to get there. I think you can get away with a low control guy like Newhouser if has good numbers in other positions. You can get away with a lower stuff guy if they've got good control and good home run suppression. You probably then are more likely to need a strong defense um, if that's the case. So there's definitely trade-offs involved there.
Marmol was a guy that I was kind of thinking was gonna be like the guy who's gonna crush it, but looking at the super small sample, it's not promising. Like to me, this was
Yeah,
like,
I
well,
mean
if home runs
that
are going to be down and walks are going to be down, so you can just punt on them. And so,
yeah, but I mean, this is a super small sample size, but I'm not. I mean, the home run rate may be a little bit elevated, but um, uh, yeah, that looks like about what you're
that
gonna get, and I don't think
13%
that's gonna
walk
cut it.
rate is crazy. I don't like where is that 13%? Let me shrink this out of the way. Why can't I shrink that? Yeah, okay. So, yeah, you're looking at around 13% on the top end. Oof. And especially for like a format where it's 8.5, you're giving up 5% walks. That's yikes. Okay, I take that back. You need a bit of control. Uh,
Well, and I think it's like if you can't. I guess what I would say is I don't know that you can have two flaws. If you're thinking about it as we now have uh, four basic pitching ratings, I don't think you can get away with flaws. Um, you can get away with one,
sure.
but like if you have bad control and bad stuff, no amount of pitcher backup and home run suppression is going to make up for that. Um, and and whatever combination you have, I think if so, the fact that he's elite stuff and elite pitcher backup, one of those two would have to be like in the 70s for this to be viable. would be my general guess.
Yeah.
Um,
There's still like
for,
break points that you need to consider and minimums and yeah.
yeah.
Yep. So for the person in Kidney's Discord that was like, yeah, just go after F cards. This is what I meant as an F card because it looks like an F. But um, make sure it's a thick F.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't think that's quite gonna work. But
yeah. Okay. Hitters. I don't know how hitters work, but we're gonna take a look at a whole bunch of hitter stats and
okay,
stuff. Um, so yeah.
heck, this data must be wrong. This says that future legends are good.
Uh, well, as I've told some other people, it's because the future legends versus the historical players. These players they've trained their entire life to be baseball players, so obviously they're going to be better than uh, obviously they're going to be better than any of the historical players. So that's why Gunnar Henderson is better than Jim Thome. Curtis Mead is better
So
than Willie
Jim, so
Wells.
wait, so Jim Tomei, who grew up in like the let's say 80s, did not train his whole life to be a baseball player.
Uh,
This is your hypothesis.
this is my hypothesis. This is my justification for
I
these
you
results.
I feel like you need to maybe reject that hypothesis.
Uh,
Um, yeah, no,
just
I mean,
slash s.
yeah, um, yeah, I think that just kind of eyeballing this, it's interesting. These cards were all cards that I thought very highly of. For the most part, before the change. So it's not surprising that a lot of these cards are still doing well. Um, important, and it's important when you look at this page that this is who's getting played a lot. And so there's a lot of other top cards that probably have similar production numbers, just don't have very many plate appearances, so they're not showing up right now. um, and so looking at the page this way, sometimes like Mike Schmidt is not really as good of a card as he used to be. I think that that avoid K is really going to be hurting him.
Even when
If
we
we're
kind
looking at
of limit it to shortstops, the like there's
third baseman.
still or third baseman. There's still
Yeah,
like I know this isn't all gold or below,
there's a
but
lot of gold third basemen that are showing up ahead of him.
yeah. So even so this is golden below,
Right.
and he's still above average. Like his
Yeah,
WRC plus is above average. His
but
let's
he's a
go.
card that I think, at least at the very beginning of the cycle, was like, ooh, this is one of the cards.
Yeah,
And certainly he's gotten, pushed out of the meta to a large degree by, the Future Legend and, and Chipper as a lineup and some of these other cards. But it's also, I do think that he's a kind of card because of that very low avoid K that he gets pushed out of the meta even more. And if we're talking in the context of a perfect draft, I think there's that kind of like you go through a perfect draft. Ooh, Mike Schmidt. I know he's good. I'm just going to take him. If there's other options, I would look more closely at the options before.
it,
Um,
in terms of Ken Caminetti, just looking at chat, he is the worst third baseman when looking at 95 or above.
yeah, but
So
small
yeah,
sample size, he's actually really, really good.
maybe.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think he's still a top 100 third baseman.
top 100, yes. But he's a perfect. Yeah, it's very disappointing that he was one of the kind of live mission rewards. But I guess like last year, the live mission rewards were really, I guess, overpowered compared to this year. Or alternatively, these cards are a lot worse than last year. But what was it? Half a dozen? Was it half of six? Or I don't even remember the term. Um,
I, you've lost me now.
all right, I'm gonna look this up. It'll take valuable
What
time.
what are you trying to come up with?
Uh, uh, saying it's the same way. Like either the cards
Oh,
last year were
6 to 1, half dozen the other.
yeah six to one
That,
half. Yeah, there we go. Thank you. So yeah, batters. Um, if we're just kind of looking at hundreds and above, Mookie, who is always a good card.
wait,
Cody,
I want to see the above 100 guys.
the, all right, let's filter greater than 100.
It's just Vlad.
It's just Vlad. Not this year. Maybe we'll see. Uh, I would like a peak Vlad Guerrero Jr. card. Already. So yeah, it's or like you were saying for the pitchers. Um, Lots of different profiles play as long as they can do a few things well.
Right. Well, and it's
Uh,
also important to point out that, like, you know, Jim Tomei shows up very highly on here as still a very, viable bat. But, you know, I don't know if you can still play him at third base because his defense is really subpar. And I think, the danger of playing that bat at third now, when almost all these guys above him um, are are much better defensively.
so just
Um,
zone rating is not the best metric, but it's a metric to evaluate defensive ability, and you can kind of see like Baker's better, Steers better, uh,
Wells obviously is elite. Matthew,
Beatty, Bill Joyce is worse. So if it's
yeah. Well,
uh,
Bill Joyce and Jim Tomei are different, very different shapes, but had been like just monster offensive players in gold, and it looks like they still might be, but I just wonder if you can get away with their defense, and then if you're now throwing them into the pool of like, is this guy going to be my DH? It's still going to be good production, from a guy you're taking in gold to be your DH, and maybe as a backup, but it's not um, it's no longer like S tier as some would put it.
where's Pujols on this?
I just not have enough use at
How
third
is
base.
Pujols at third? Where is Pujols on here? Am I hallucinating? No, there's no Pujols. So, like, when I click here, Albert Pujols, rookie sensation. He's a third baseman.
Yeah,
It's in his card. I'm really confused. Okay.
uh,
Uh, Poppin. Jose Batista, he's still popping. Home runs, even though they're suppressed. He gets on base and he hits home runs. The
yeah.
BABIP.
So I wouldn't be surprised if that might just be a small sample thing that he's not that
Oh,
um,
yeah, no,
amazing.
he'll probably drop down. The BABIP is probably just double this, and his BABIP is probably well. What is his BABIP actually? Uh, who are we looking for? Jose Batista. Uh, let's. Oh wow. Uh,
Yeah, that backup should greater.
yeah, I think he's lucky. Lucky. Um,
That K rate might go up if anything. Um, the walk rate makes sense. Home runs even. I mean that's about pretty top of the top shelf in terms of power. So having crazy, spiking a crazy home run rate. But I definitely think that'll go down as well as we get more plate appearances.
Yeah, so if I just filter on like greater than 750 plate appearances, you kind of get probably a little bit more.
Better, good.
Has room to go down. Potentially. I guess if we kind of look at the BABIP. Let's take a look at how these BABIPs are faring. So yeah, he was what, a 30?
Yeah.
So if he's a 30, that's out of the trend line. Oh, I didn't do this properly. Okay. And then let's do some magic format access. And let's drop this to like 0.25. Yeah. I figure with his like 40, he should probably be like around a 0.26. I'm guessing 0.25. So with that, I'm pretty sure his it's gonna drop
Okay.
likely. Um, okay, so we have about half an hour before. Yeah, this is probably gonna drop.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna stay at 285.
And I
Uh,
think that I'm not surprised that he has elite power, but it shouldn't be that much higher than some of these other guys. You know, look at everybody for a second, not just for third base. And is there anybody with anywhere near that much power? I mean, Mitchell is still nowhere near. Sosa has a similar, you know, Sosa and Mitchell have similar power ratings and are nowhere near 7.5.
Marcus, I'd probably say iron, iron or bronze. I guess
I
the bronze double elimination is really frustrating, but you could probably do irons or silvers, just to, like to do the quicks where you don't have to enter in every time.
I like the player pool for bronze a little bit better. I think it's easier to kind of get a feel for than iron, but
I think
either of those
iron
is
is
good.
hard because it's double the card value, right? You're going from 40 to 59.
Right.
But yeah, I agree.
Although that only really matters for cat purposes.
Sure, but I think for a new person it's a little dizzying to try to like
Right.
evaluate cards on a 40 to 59 scale,
Sure.
where I think the 60 to 69 scale is a little easier to kind of just be like, oh, okay. Generally speaking, even though overall isn't the end all be all for evaluating cards, it's you can at least kind of look at a card and say, oh, this is a 62 or whatever. But yeah, bronze tourneys are good, and you do get some choice of with the double elimination to like learn from looking at uh like why did I lose this game type of thing, and each box score is going to be a little you can't you're not going to be able to figure stuff out from a single box score, but the ability to observe trends is really the way you have to play the game. And if you're not doing it through a spreadsheet like I am, because I look at a box score and I just see numbers, like I have no memory. I'm like, oh, okay, this is neat. Where like looking at this stuff it makes things a lot more clear. But I know a ton of people who don't pull any data and just kind of like look at cards and do a lot of kind of analysis within the client to kind of say, well, I'm looking for a card that, um, let's say, has minimum 50 BABIP and minimum 50 AVK and sort by power. So it's like you can like discover cards that way. And I think that's how I like originally did it a while ago, but um, I found I didn't really have a good feel for that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that having either projections or data as a sorting tool is helpful, but and but I also sometimes think it can be a crutch. Like I think especially it can be frustrating when there's new cards and you're like, I don't know, I don't have any data, I don't know. If you have a good model, you can plug it in and see how the model thinks it's going to play. But I think just having a good ability to you know and feel for what works is you know kind of how I mostly like to play. And a lot of that is just, it's repetition. It's playing lots of different tournaments, lots of different formats, and, kind of have to a large degree, immerse yourself in the player pool to really have that card sense. And that takes some time. And so, collecting data and looking at the data is a good shortcut. If you have the ability and have the time to build the model, is definitely a good shortcut. But I think in the end, you kind of want to be able to do all of those in conjunction in order to really kind of get a good feel. And because sometimes I'll have like a sense of a card, and then I'll look at the data and be like, wow, that doesn't match at all. And then I'll kind of have to study it further to kind of get a sense of, is it, what was there something about the ratings of the card that tricked me a little bit. um, and definitely when there are big changes, your preconceived notions of what cards are good and what cards can do, is gonna kind of give you a little bit too much bias towards certain cards. And the data can definitely help you kind of lead towards the optimal play a little bit quicker.
Okay, so what we'll do is uh, we're gonna enter in the entry fee tournament, and we're gonna build a team using perfect draft data. So the issue is that the league format is, or not the league format, the values in the format are gonna be like the WOBA values are a little. Let's see, does that work? Did that work? Did I? Oh, I shrunk the wrong one. Uh oh. Uh oh. I wanted to shrink this one. I don't know what I'm doing. Can we get a professional in
What?
here? Okay. So entry fee tournament. I've never entered an entry fee tournament. I'm going to spend 1,000 PP to enter in an entry fee tournament.
Jordan, thanks you for your thousand.
I've made my sacrifice to the OOTP gods. I've burnt some incense. Um, okay, so if we go back to the sheet, uh, what I've kind of have here is I actually I was inspired by kidneys, and so now I've added kind of a ceiling component, and the bottom is whatever, low iron. And so now I can come in here, I can update all my projections, and everything should just work, I think. Maybe. Perfect. Uh, so pitchers. This is the default roster. This was done, uh, you know, long time ago. I don't know what that is. We're not going to look at it.
Okay.
Pitchers. Herb score is number one. Let's roll with this. Um, what am I looking at? I'm looking at starters. We're gonna come up here. We're gonna look at herb score. Why is herb so good?
Uh, I think what I was talking about. He's got pretty pretty close to. He's got elite stuff. He's got elite pitcher BABIP and and pretty good home run suppression. And so you're punting control. but I think those other are strong enough, to make up for it.
Yeah. So let's throw them on this. Control is for suckers. I agree. Then we go Vita. Vita is also kind of in the same-ish boat.
Yeah, but what's nice about Vita is you're not truly punting control. Um, you know, you're pretty similar. I mean, the pitcher BABIP's a little weaker. The stuff's not super elite like Herb Score, but the fact that you're not bottoming out in control, definitely is nice. That's another solid one for gold. Uh,
Uh, Matt Moore. Now this is a card I've been trying to get. Did I get him? Let's see. If you have a Matt Moore. No. Someone
no.
threw up a
Oh,
Matt Moore for 15K. Please. Please, someone sell me a Matt Moore. Where is Matt Moore? Please. Can I have some more? Uh, please don't outbid my Matt Moore. Okay, so we don't have a Matt Moore. Now we're going Antonelli and Lady Baldwin. Um,
okay.
so like, if you've been playing Gold, these are cards you all kind of play already. Um, I feel. I don't know. I'm not like too into. Where is Lady Baldwin? If I sort
He's
by
in
P.
81 or an 82, so he's going to be
Oh,
farther
there we
down.
go. Just sort by PBABIP. That's the trick on how to build a rotation. So Antonelli. Antonelli's like Antonelli does good enough in.
Right.
I'll show you
He
left.
gives you the benefit of you're not punting any of the four categories, but he's not really elite in any of them. Although the pitcher BABIP is pretty close, and if you're gonna pick one, also he has kind of as a bonus, the hold runner is really strong, um, which I don't know how much that matters in this version of the game. I almost think having a bad hold runner and tricking guys into stealing might actually be good, but that's a little tinfoily for this
That's
conversation.
4D chess. So between like Lady Baldwin and Antonelli, you're still emphasizing the PBABIP. You're like making trade offs in terms of home runs and stuff is still kind of. Uh,
Yeah. Baldwin, I definitely like in a cap setting a lot more just because of the cheaper. But okay, so
uh,
what do we have? Four starters now.
yeah. So Teddy Hagura.
You
I
have
don't.
a Teddy Higuera.
I don't think I have a Teddy Hagura. But hold on. I think I have
Have
a
a choice
gold
pack.
pack. No, they're two silver ones. Okay,
Yeah.
no Teddy
Oh,
Hagura. May as well make it five lefties. I like that idea. Um,
in which case, I think Newhouser's your guy.
yeah. So Hal Newhouser. So yeah. So anyone who's kind of this Harvey Haddix was one that like I've been picking, but I think in modern environment that home run rate is still going to be
And I think
punitive.
if the stuff was, going back to what I was saying before, that I think you want, you know, if you're punting one, you want to be elite at the other three. Is I think that stuff was like 90, 100, then you could get away with it. Um, but I think that's just a little bit too low a home run rate and too low a stuff. Whereas Newhouser, you're punting control and you're elite in two. And then the third one, Fisher Papa, it's a little weak, but I think you can get away with it. And he's also your fifth starter, so
Yeah.
I think you can get away with that as
Um,
well.
so we're gonna grind some platoons here through the grind monster. How did I want to do this? I wanted to do herb, uh, something like this. I think. There we go. All right, we'll do the.
I think you're gonna have to explain that grind the grind monster thing because I think I know what you're talking about, but I'm going to guess that nobody else has a clue what you mean by that.
So, how does Rich Hill look after the change? I don't know. Good question. Grinding. Rich Hill is right here. So he's above average, but there are better pitchers. fatigue management is one of the, going back to Proto Nerds United, is one of the win conditions that you can kind of figure out when playing tournaments, meaning that um,
Now you have
it's
to explain win conditions.
yes. So
I think we're
go
digging a deeper hole
go
here.
go
Um,
back and watch videos from like last year. But
I think that was the
generally
first one.
the first one, yeah. Well, that one wasn't recorded, so
Oh, that's right.
grinding the monster sounds a little flushed. Yeah. Tangents.
Uh,
By having a pitching rotation that's all the same side, it forces the backups on that side to be played more. And typically, those backups are either platoon backups, meaning that you're going to get the platoon advantage on them, or they're just weaker bats. And so you may lose like game 2 or 3, but the idea is that by game 6 and 7, you're no longer facing your opponent's uh, starting lineup, but um, more their backups, which are presumably weaker. No comment. Okay, so batters. So I like to just go around the horn. Kind of looking at this. Deacon White, he looks kind of good. Chris Hoyles, he looks kind of good. So I'm gonna go with those two guys.
okay.
Um, don't ask me why. Well, maybe ask me why. Um,
So I think, Hoyles is a guy, if we look at his profile a little bit, I think the fact that he was the poster child for like the perfect player for the initial run environment. Um, and you know, he's still got elite eye and elite power, but and a very strong catcher ability for gold catcher. But I think that low avoid K, the low BAPIP, and the low gap is just, he's no longer an absolute must. But I think what keeps him kind of in play, and maybe not like a slam dunk pick, but somebody that I think you have to consider, is that there really aren't that many catchers that have 80 plus catcher ability, and I think that's probably going to matter more um, in this new run environment. And um, I think that the other elite defensive options don't have anything but that. So like let's put catcher ability above 80 and see who comes up.
Charlie Bennett.
So Bennett, I figured would probably play a little better, but then you see that like the guys who are significantly better than Hoyles and catcher ability, you're really just starting to punt that completely. Um, I'm surprised. Where's Drew Romo on that list? Shouldn't he be on there? Is he worse than? He's not even top
Uh,
10 in WRC.
uh, I don't know where Romo is. Romo? Sergio
I mean, he
Romo?
has the same last name as a former NFL quarterback.
Yeah, good question. Maybe my filter's broken. Uh oh. Value top 10. Good question. Let's look up where Romo is. Why is Romo not eligible? Uh, no, he's eligible. Weird. Weird. Good question. It's a bug in the sheet.
Uh-oh.
Uh oh. Position rating. Maybe I. Oh, that's why. It's definitely a bug in the sheet. Now we go. Okay, what were we looking at? We were looking at greater than
80
90.
or higher pitch ability. Oh,
There
90
we
or
go.
higher. Okay, so yeah, so you are if you want to go to really elite to Dickey and Romo, um, you are really punting that back.
Yeah, yeah, and like we
I
could
might
go.
do that. I might consider doing that with one of the two. Um, to play Dickey, with somebody who is, pair him with a bat. Um,
Hoyles and Deacon White, they're so pre 515. We're gonna go Romo and Dickey, and
you have a
we're
Dickey.
just gonna rock it. Do we have a Dickey? I think I had a buy order for a Dickey. Do I?
My order has to be filled in order for it to play the card, though. And that's what they told me.
No, it's just magic. Once I put a buy order in,
Once you buy a order in, you can play him.
I could use my pack to pull a Dickey.
There you go.
Should we do that? Let's do that.
And then I want to move on from a conversation where we're talking about playing a Dickey.
All right, here we go.
Okay, now you have a Dickey.
Now I have a Dickey. Uh, okay, first base. Cassis.
So Cassis and so it's interesting that these the three the three first basemen that stand out are just so splitty. Berkman and Cassis are just insanely spitty. Howard not quite as much, but then Mead and Galarraga on the other side are only marginally splitty. Um, you
Uh,
know,
so I guess maybe like Howard and Mead as a platoon, but
yeah,
Mead almost doesn't need a platoon. I don't
right.
know.
The tough thing is I don't think you can play Mead at third.
So if we just go scroll to the top, sort by future legends, Curtis Mead. We're gonna go. All right, we got a Mead.
Okay.
Defense. I think defense is important, so I'm gonna play Javier Baez. Easy answer. Second base.
It's not a feature.
He's not a future legends. He was an all star, right? No.
No.
That was a snapshot. Javi Baez at second. Perfect. We'll care about backups later. Third base. This is the big question. What do we do at third base?
So basically, all these guys are terrible defensively until you get to Baker, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Cassis has a decent arm, but I feel like the rest of that defensive profile is pretty weak. But we want to maybe look at his
Who, Cassis?
Cassis.
Well, if we're going to do that, then I play Mead at third and
Right.
play Cassis
Well,
at first, right?
I mean, yeah, you can't play. That's right. It's the range is insanely bad. So yeah, but I think Mead's defense is not that much better at third.
No.
No, so I don't think you can. I don't think you can play either of them at third.
I
I
have to
think
update this filter to also consider maybe infield range more because I feel like it is probably.
yeah, third base is tough because so many of the batting options are just butchers defensively.
All right, Baker it is with this kind of vanilla profile that can run and play some defense. Shortstop. This is what I've been doing in my gold DODs. I'm gonna play Bill Hall at shortstop.
Okay.
Bill Hall, he crushes. He crushes beer cans for a living. Bill Hall. Okay.
Are we going to take Chipper as our DH?
How is the new Eddie Collins? Good question. I don't know. Uh, Chipper is, well, I guess if we go down here, yeah, Chipper. Like I would platoon Chipper and Tristan. I think that's what I'm doing.
Okay.
Uh, so if we go third base and just sort by power, uh, there's a Chipper. There's a Cassis. So we have our DHs. Left field. I think I'm running. I'm running Willie McGee, and I was very grateful for pulling that Willie McGee. Um,
Much better than pulling a Dickey.
well, I didn't pull a Dickey. I selected a Dickey. Because Willie
Uh,
McGee kind of plays everywhere, and then it's like a
right.
combination of like Stan, Wally.
Right.
Uh, where is it? Stan Wall. Where is? I'm blind. Are
Stands at
these
the top.
stands at the top? Yep.
Wally's like 6 or 7 down,
Yep. Strang and right, and I think I need like one more, right?
probably.
I was platooning Granderson and McGee, but I think McGee can play by
I don't
himself.
think I don't think Granderson's playable with that big of a split.
Yeah,
You're gonna
yeah.
have too many at bats against lefties over the course of a series that you can to play that card.
So like then it like going to Self Relic or maybe like Elijah Green. Like this is
Yeah,
saying like Swisher is probably decent. And he's a switch hitter, so maybe it didn't make sense to play Swisher. Um, and he can play center too, right? If only he could run. I think he would be great if he could run. Oh no, yeah, he bats left or bat. Yeah, so maybe I'll do him as. Uh, so I should have 14 now. 13.
13.
Who are we missing?
I think you need a backup middle infielder, don't you?
Yes, yes, Joey Weimer. I like Weimer instead of Weimer. Oh, Weimer's good because he can steal. Yeah, so I think instead of Swisher, I think putting Weimer is. I think that's good. Thank you for the suggestion. I appreciate it. If I have a Weimer, I do have Weimer. Huzzah! And then the other future legend in the background is going to be Peraza. Yeah, because Peraza can play everywhere. I think that's everything. Uh, so we got Mead playing both ways. We have Baez, Baker. We have Hall. I think Hall is better. VR than Peraza. It's slight. Uh, and then Berger, McGee, and Usual. And then who is it? It's Cassis at first, or at DH. That looks like a lineup. That looks like a lineup.
Which Strang is a switch hitter, but isn't he better V right or Mineral?
He is better V right, but I think he's better than Berger VL, right? Berger VL 1919, where Strang is 125 VL.
I mean, Burger is kind of better versus both. I
Or
think you got to
Strang
get
is better versus both. Oh, I see. Okay.
yeah. So I
So
think you
yeah,
want Strang in the
Strang.
lineup. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I like this.
Now is Burger better than McGee versus right in center field?
No.
No,
Well, maybe, but I think Berger doesn't have the defense.
he doesn't have the defense. Okay.
Yeah. So that's why I would just play McGee both ways. I've been leading
So
off, and I think this is just dumb because he's not gonna like take any pitches, and he's just gonna
right.
slap the ball. So he's probably better as a 9. Um, but I'm guessing it's like Baker string something like this. Maybe a heavy Baez. There we go. That looks like balanced. Oh, that Bill Dickey. Probably do that. Second, we got 7 minutes left.
We need a bullpen.
Oh yeah, we need a bullpen. I'm not sure how Berger is fitting now. I think I'd rather run a real center field instead.
Okay.
He's not gonna play often, I would say. I guess I still have to do. Like, I don't. Yeah, I kind of get that. I don't really have anyone to back up center field. Asadifo, I hate when you make sense like that. So going back, like I guess Paskert, because I think Paskert. I don't even know if I have a Paskert.
Well, do you? I don't know. You bought some of those guys, but
Oh no.
you do buy a Pastor.
So Paskert
Yeah.
kind of works well because he can run and stuff. So yeah, I kind of like that. Even though he's probably not going to bat, he can at least cover both of them. Good call.
And you'd be a better defensive replacement
And
left
then
field, wouldn't
Paskert and left, and we got this on lockdown.
you? Okay, let's go
Uh,
make a bullpen.
let's go make a bullpen.
Okay, we'll see more.
Bullpen. Select Will Seymour. Billy Wagner I have. Let's see. All 9 lives. Uh, 9 lives. Pitchers. Again, sort by P. BABIP. Probably. Does it like an Eden Fuhrer? I would imagine it would. No, it doesn't. Why does it not like a Niedenfuhrer? Oh, because I'm looking at only lefties. There we go. Niedenfuhrer. I was like, I'm supposed to just sort by PBABIP and pick the. What are the big changes to note? I was late. PBABIP is good, but you can't give up on everything else. Is the gist of it. Putts. Who else we're looking at? Wagner. We'll see more. Wagner. These are. Actually, I guess I can go starters. Fielding stamina. We'll see more is here. And then we can go relievers, and we're looking for Billy the Kid Wagner. Is Baker playing VL? I feel like there should be a better option, but not sure who. Baker is playing VL. So I think I'm gonna just have to eat that. All-star. Billy Wagner.
How many do we have?
2 more we need.
Okay.
So then that gives up Guanti. And I don't think I have a Gavin Stone. So then it's Gary Peters. Guanti I have. Guanti I like. I don't think I have any future legends. All pitchers. No. So then we're looking at some hardware heroes. Gary Peters. So we're probably gonna put these guys in some stopper roles. High leverage. Kenley, stopper, high leverage. We're gonna run all these other guys as middle relievers, and maybe have Gary Peters as a long relief. Cool. And then I don't know what to do with strategy sliders. We were gonna do a stream on strategy sliders. I kind of went back and was like, hey, you know what'd be great for strategy sliders? Not setting them. So I'm kind of been running this. Intentional walks. No one likes to give up intentional walks, especially now with like walks down, home runs down. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think until we have something of a feel for this new run environment, um, I don't know that I'm going to change much as a result, but I kind of want to get a better sense of it. So I think that's probably we're going to put that in the coming soon category.
Yeah.
And you know, one preview is uh, for for an open format. I've been doing 96, not 91. I think I
Oh
used to do
yeah. No,
95.
96 is right. This is kind of like a cap, more focused on cap. But yeah,
Yeah.
96 is probably better. In terms of grinding, if you don't have that set, grinding, people don't get benched until they're very, very tired. And so having it set high, then they get benched sooner, and so that they can have more plate appearances in a best of seven. Drew Romo, Cassis, Baker, both ways. He's fine. And then Weimer in for Musial, Jones in for. And Strang is just gonna play left field, all by himself.
Okay.
So yeah, this is I'm ready to get 50,000 perfect points whenever this fires. Yeah. Uh,
Good luck.
Thanks. For DHs, I don't know. Stan is probably okay because Chipper's already gone. Weimer's gone. I really don't want to pinch hit people, I would say. I guess, yeah, Cassis is probably good there. Peraza is probably good for running. Paskert is probably good for running. Chipper, no.
Sure.
Drew
Romo
Romo down.
is good for running.
Drew Romo was,
It's not bad.
yeah. Drew
Young
Romo's a
catcher.
switch hitter. I didn't know that. Okay. That's kind of neat.
Really.
Drew Romo be in for Dickey, defensive replacement, 108 versus 101? No. In terms of lineups, it's not that I don't want to pitch hit. It's that the AI, yeah, the AI does make terrible decisions. This is pretty good. I feel confident. Let's do some pitch counts with my very accurate pitch count. So Peters is not a pitcher. Moore is not a pitcher. So 101. Let's do 109 for 101. Let's do Vita Blue at 102. Let's do Herb Score at 102. And Newhouser. Let's put these guys at 95.
Okay.
Okay, so we're close to done. We're gonna raid into Maine. I hope Maine's up. I think it's up. Maybe. Can someone confirm? And join TJ's stream. It looks like it's up. So, thanks everyone. Tournament Lab is cool. You want to give the quick blurb?
Sure. Tournament Lab. We're going to be doing, I think, a couple more weeks with the current format. And we're going to be getting a new format soon. We worked that out with Nico. I guess that'll be announced when they announce, tournament format changes. But if you come and play in Tournament Lab every Saturday, you can win a bounty. If you knock Extraforas, myself, Durden, or Charles, or whoever we get as a designated replacement out of the tournament, you get 20 standard packs if you pick a bounty. I don't think anybody's picked up 2 before, but that'd be cool to see.
You can get up to
So,
80 standard packs if you knock out
yes,
all of us.
that would be really cool if somebody knocked out all 4 of us. But all of us seem to get knocked out in the second round this year. So
We're not very good at this.
yeah, we're not. We designed this first format, and none of us seem to do well at it. I made the semifinals, I think, 2 weeks ago, but
Yeah.
um, Yeah, it's been a tricky format. So maybe the next one, if you guys knock each other out, does the person who knocks out that winner win 40? No. If we knock each other out, one of us gets 20, and then whoever goes on to knock that person out gets 20. So um, we get some opportunity, although we usually try and make sure we don't hit each other in the first round, but sometimes it's unavoidable, just timing wise and getting set up. Um, so I think that's all I've got for tonight. Hopefully next time we'll have some more data to look at and maybe some tournament specific stuff, and can go from there.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Hope this was
Okay,
helpful, and have a good night. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
bye.
Let's raid over to the main channel.